The whole idea here today is to come away understanding all the disorders in the lumbar spine, how to diagnose them, and how to appropriately treat them. So let's start. See if my tools work. Okay, so what are the objectives of the course today? Well, understand the pathology of multiple spinal disorders, understand the specific disorders of the spine, understand the mechanics. Whoops, well, there we go. I'll try that again. Understand the mechanics of the spine, understand how to perform a physical examination, know what the findings are, understand confirmatory tests and imaging disorders, know how to interpret images. Do not depend upon a radiologist. I can't tell you how many times a radiologic report is wrong that we read. So know how to interpret these things. When you first start, you'll feel like you're riding a bike, you're going to fall over. By the time you're finished, you'll be in the Tour de France. Understand the biomechanics of treatment, the value of diagnostic and therapeutic roles, and understand indications and requirements for surgery. This is important. If you don't understand surgery, then it's a black box and you don't know what to expect. If you understand surgery and you send a patient to somebody and they come up with some crazy idea for surgery, you have to pull back and say, is this correct? So you have to have resources. You have to deal with people, unfortunately, such as surgeons like me, to figure out what's going on with the spine. And finally, know how to put all of this together. So, two favorite phrases. Sir William Osler, you see what you know and you find what you look for. So if you don't know something is going to be present, you're never going to think about it. If somebody comes in with high arches and you don't know about Charcot-Marie tooth, you're not going to think about it. If somebody comes in and they have long tract signs, you don't know about myelopathy or about MS, you're not going to think about it. So you have to know everything, and it's going to pop into your conscience when you finally start to see these things. The other phrase is, if all you have is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. So if you're a chiropractor and you manipulate, what is your tool? Everybody's going to get manipulation. Doesn't work for everybody. If you're a surgeon and you haven't found a pedicle that needs a screw, you've got problems too. So you have to be able to understand where your place is, and sometimes your place may not be to treat that particular patient. So sometimes things aren't what they seem. So you have to delve into things that just make sure that you're diagnosing the right problem. Okay, so why are we here? Because low back pain is the second most common reason to visit a physician. And low back and neck pain are the first and fourth causes of years lived with disability. It's huge. There's more money spent on the spine than the next 2-3 diseases combined. And that's why we're here. People have disability, $50 billion spent to treat disorders. 80% of the population will have disabling low back pain in their lifetime. Interestingly enough, some people think Sarno especially is considered as all in your head, and we'll dispel this notion today. So what are we treating? Very simply, pain, malfunction, neurologic injury, structural disintegrity, abnormal alignment and prevention of deformity, and looking for potential for loading injury. That's what we're treating. So I want you to understand in this course, everything is management. You are not going to cure the patient of what mechanical disorder they have, even if you're a surgeon. For example, somebody has a disc herniation, I go in there and I take out the disc herniation and their leg pain goes away. Have I cured them? No. I've reduced the inflammation on the root, but they still have a hole in the disc that I can't fix. So we're managing these things. That's how you start to think about the lower back. So this is another one. Let's see if I can do it, because it's another favorite of mine. So, you have to know where you stand and what your value is and what things shouldn't be done. Unfortunately, that's the funniest part of the whole lecture today. So, chiropractors, if you're looking, let's go back. If you're looking to treat all spinal disorders with manipulation, this course will not satisfy you. If you want to find your niche in the vast healthcare system and figure out your rights and responsibilities, then this course will give you 95% more knowledge than most spine surgeons. Seriously. I mean, there's a lot of deficits. Unfortunately, spine is like an elephant where every specialist is looking at it through a telescope. So somebody looks at the trunk and goes, oh my God, look at the size of this proboscis. Somebody looks at the leg, it's massive, but they don't see the trunk. Somebody looks at the tail and says, that's a rear end. So this course is designed to put it all together so you all understand what the disorder is and how to deal with it. So, how many spine specialists are there? Well, this is the list, and it's huge. And I'll bet you every one of those individuals, if you go up to them, if you go to your rheumatologist and you say, are you a spine specialist? Oh, I know everything about the spine. And if you go to an internist, oh yeah, I've been dealing with spine disorders for years. Massage therapists, Pilates, disability physicians, chiropractors, PM&R docs, all think they have a handle on the spine. Some of them do, but the whole idea is to look at everything and figure out what's wrong. That's really the bottom line. So, interestingly enough, for medical school students generally have a total of 3 to 4 hours of spine education. 3 to 4 hours. Family practice and internal medicine residents have 5 to 6 hours of specific spine education. This is changing. Physical therapy students study functional back disorders, but are not given the tools to diagnose specific spine disorders. And chiropractic students have the most spine education of any specialized profession, but have misconceptions and don't use the tools they were given. So again, that's what this course is designed to change. So what do you have to do to become a good diagnostician? Unfortunately, you got to use your brain to memorize. You have to know which pelvic and lower extremity muscles are innervated by which nerves. You have to know the myotomes, and you have to know how to test them. You have to know the dermatomal distributions. So you do your physical exam and you have a deficit someplace. What does that mean? How does that relate? Know your spinal disorders and mimics. You remember, you see what you know, you find what you look for. If you don't know about Lou Gehrig's disease, you're not going to look for it. Know how to ask the right questions, know how to examine the patient. We'll go meticulously through this. How to understand the studies. Again, I can't underestimate radiologists missing things. They're not intentionally trying to, but you have a big advantage because you're a clinician. You see the patient, you get the history, you get the physical, you know what you're looking for. The radiologist has somebody tell them they've got leg pain. That's all they know. They don't even know where the leg pain is, so they don't have the advantage that you guys have being specific. Know how to interpret studies. Don't depend upon the EMG interpretation. Look, we'll go over the EMG and we'll talk about it. Go over the EMG itself and see if you agree with the person who did it. And develop referral sources. This is big deal out of your specialty. I don't treat ankylosing spondylitis other than, the spinal deformity part. They need a rheumatologist. I'm not going to treat amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. There's neurologists to do that. But I have to have a cadre of these people that I trust to do a good job, and there are ones that do great jobs, and there are ones that'll tell you they do great jobs, if you understand what I mean. Okay, so resources. Well, number one is the book on your table. That book will give you, if you read it and study it, it'll give you a lot of information and really give you a great overview of spine. I have a website called neckandback.com, and this website I probably put about 10,000 hours of work into. And you can get on it, and this is the opening page, you can pick a topic, and if you know your disorder, this is not a diagnostic website, this is a website for information. So you have to know your disorder in order to figure it out. So if you click on lower back, you get a cadre of everything. You want to know about Bertolotti syndrome, cauda equina, chronic radiculopathy, degenerative scoliosis. You can pick a topic, and then this topic will give you specifics. For example, herniated disc, there's pictures, drawings, and information. And then there's videos. I think I've put 65 videos up from everything from how to read an MRI to when to have surgery for low back pain. And the videos are quite helpful. I think I speak in a reasonably clear voice. Most people think not, but again, that's my own problem. And then there is the forum. This is neckandback.com, patient forum. There's probably 10,000 questions and answers here. So you can pick a subject, for example, on my way to a potential third back surgery. So you can say, what's going on there, and click on it and read about the patient and not patient, because they're not patients, they're forum participants. And you can read about it. So it's a valuable source to get more information. And then finally, we just started studyspine.com. You have to register, but it's free. We have clinical cases of the month. I have radiologic cases of the month. We have course descriptions and presentation time. So all of this is pretty valuable. So we'll start. Any questions? No, wow. Either I've bored you to death or I've answered them all right.